deadline has gotten extended. Yeah, we kind of realized like that was a lot to do while you're doing classes. So really sorry about that. Sorry if that was any stress, or it was. Sorry for how much stress that might have been. Um, we're still gonna drop some milestones though to kind of just like help you pace yourself. You don't have to follow these at all. We just want you to have the project completed before winter quarter starts, because that's when we're actually hopping on teams, working with nonprofits. So we want you to be ready for that. And we'll still have office hours. I will still be on my computer 24/7, so you can always DM me. That's not over once boot camp's over. So yeah, blow up my inbox or like talk in any of the boot camp channels, because other people are probably going through the same stuff you are. And lastly, these workshops will kind of continue. Like we have 3 more, not counting this one. So that's like really exciting. But they'll be on YouTube, so you can like double speed through them if you can process that fast. You probably can though. You're super smart. Yeah, so I think that's all I have. These milestones will be dropped in Slack. It's on a beautiful Notion page, but they're recommended. So kind of follow them as you will. I think I'm done rambling. So today, Tim is actually going to take us away on databases. So
awesome. Thanks, Ethan. So yeah, we're going to be talking about databases, big D of programming. So we're just going to get a quick overview. And let's just jump right in. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to talk about what they are, talk about MySQL, SQL, NoSQL, MongoDB, and CRUD. Cool. So what are databases? They're a structured data set. So they're very common in web apps. We'll be using them. And there's different types. So there's SQL and NoSQL, which we'll cover. So you might have heard of MySQL. It's a very popular open source database management system used by tons of software companies. And the idea here is really, so if the database were a library, the database management system is a librarian, and the data is the books. And it's a relational database. The databases we'll be using won't be relational, and we'll talk a little bit more about that further down. But yeah, so MySQL, really efficient storing your data, and they use SQL to communicate back and forth. So what is SQL? It's a structured, it stands for structured query language. So this really important part here is the structured part. And so it's kind of like an Excel spreadsheet. So if you see this right here, this cat farm right here, this table right here, kind of what we expect when we see a data table. That's how you can think of SQL. And we can extract data through queries. So right here, this example right here is kind of a SQL query where we take all the rows here where the age of the cat is greater than 4. Cool. And then so NoSQL, which we'll be using. So it's a database management system that doesn't use SQL. They kind of have their own structure in a sense. But the most popular of NoSQL database management systems is MongoDB, and that's the one that we'll be using. So that's part of the MERN stack. It's not a relational model, and it really stores documents in collections. So instead of tables, it's more documents. But yeah, so it's kind of like rows in a table. And then, so we'll talk about a little bit about MongoDB. So it's a NoSQL database, and it uses documents to store data. And so why would we use it over a SQL database? So there's no relations. It's not a relational database. And so having a lot of relations has the potential to slow down query speeds quite a lot. And then SQL also forces developers to really lay out a really thought out design. And so definitely in the beginning of the development cycle, it really slows down that process. And the documents we refer to when we're talking about MongoDB is really just JSON. So if you haven't seen what JSON is, it's right here. This bottom right here, this is kind of an example of what it would look like. And we could have nested objects and arrays within this JSON format. And then also, if you're curious what it stands for, it's JavaScript object notation, I think. And then quick overview, CRUD. So 4 basic functions of persistent storage. So it's create, read, update, and delete. So these are kind of like the basic commands that we'll use to interact with our database and kind of have it perform the way we want it to. And right here, this is kind of an example of what that JSON format that we talked about previously, as opposed to kind of a table. But yeah, just a quick overview about each one. So this is the create function. So it's kind of like an insert, I guess. And especially with MongoDB, you'll see that kind of interchangeable, like the insert operation. If there is no collection, we'll create a collection. But yeah, so this is kind of like the data right here at the bottom right here that we want to put into our collection in a JSON format. And from a table view, this is what it would look like. So yeah, we want to put in Ethan, 20-year-old tech prodigy. Yeah, that's what we'll do right there. And then talking about read, so these are kind of retrieving documents from a collection, kind of getting data that we want to look at. So let's say, we want to see Finn, who's an ops monster, 17 years old, little youngster, get that from a read operation. There'll be more specifics when it comes to MongoDB. But yeah, that's a little bit about read. And then update, talk about modifying our data so we can pinpoint a specific entry that we want to look at. So let's say we want to change Ethan's age to 21. We can look for a specific name that we're looking for. So Ethan, update his age to 21. And so yeah, turned 21 now, still a tech prodigy, nothing's really changed there. And then delete. So talk about removing documents from a collection. So let's say we want to take Ethan out. And then let's say we want to make him a tech god, but for now we want to take him out for now. So we'll just extract him based off his name, Ethan. And so these CRUD operations are kind of the baseline of how you'll interact with this database. And those specifics details of the actual commands that we'll use with MongoDB, we'll cover more specifically on Thursday. And you'll get a chance to really work with them when we talk about them more. But yeah, I know I went through that really fast. It was a very quick and brief overview of databases as a whole. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, will we be encrypting these?
Not that I know of, Ethan.
Yeah, so the database management system's actually really, really good. We'll actually be using a database as a service called Atlas. So we don't even have to worry about like security of our databases. If we're storing like passwords or something, we'll hash them for sure. But like Atlas takes care of all that worrying stuff for us. Just don't like leak credentials, because then Atlas can't really do anything about that.
What exactly is Atlas again?
It's a database as a service. So like, like Amazon has their web services where you kind of like buy compute time. Atlas is like a database that you can kind of pay to use. They have a pretty monster free tier though, so I think we'll be able to get away with not paying. But
sick.
yeah, no, it's super nice.
And also, all the projects that we're working with, we make sure that we're not storing any like confidential or personally identifiable information with our nonprofits. So hopefully security won't be too much of an issue. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remove documents based on like any attribute, or is there just like one primary one? Like say if I want to remove like someone whose age is 17 but instead of like the name Ethan, could I do that? Or is it just like based on their name?
Ethan, you want to take this one? I'm not too familiar with MongoDB specifically.
Yeah, no, I'll take a shot. I'm pretty sure you could select a certain attribute and anything that matches it would kind of just get like disappeared. Pretty sure. I'll definitely check that out though.
For sure.
Cool. Anybody else have any questions?
I'm kind of like branching off that question. If there's like duplicates, so if there's like 2 Ethans, would both Ethans get removed?
From my understanding, so actually, Ethan, you want to handle that one?
Yeah. I'd say so. Although in this case, Ethan would kind of be a key. So we wouldn't want to be duplicating keys necessarily, but yeah, yes is my answer.
Yes, that it wouldn't get added.
I thought we were deleting. Oh no.
Yeah, for deletion or just like insertion too, if there's duplicates. Like,
I think, at least in my experience, unless you explicitly like write code to check if there's already an Ethan in the database, MongoDB documents have like a unique ID, like identifier number, which is just like a long string of characters. So I think it would add both of them. And yeah, if you need to check if you want, like if an item is already in the database.
okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Sweet. I think we might all be set here if no one else has any more questions. I know that was really quick. But yeah, we'll get more into the details on Thursday for the databases.
Yeah, and I know some of you mentioned like if that you would like to see maybe some helpful resources and links. So we'll definitely post some of those in the Slack. If you want to get your hands dirty before Thursday, there's an npm package called Mongoose, which is used to interface with MongoDB from your like JavaScript code. So if you want to take a look at that, feel free. But if not, we'll also be teaching you that pretty soon. But yeah, I think other than that, unless Ethan or Tim, you have anything else to say, I think we're good for today's meeting.
We're all good here.